Hi, everybody. It is the weekend edition of Proline. I'm Dave Koken. John Creighton is here for Jim Feist. We're missing a couple of the guys today. Actually, one of them has an issue with the cable system's not working properly. There's an outage in his neighborhood, and the other one's on the road. So just the two of us. We got a couple of good games to look at on the Saturday schedule. The National League rivalry battle, National League Central matchup, a big one for the early season between the Cardinals and the Reds, and of course the rivalry, Red Sox-Yankees, as they will continue their weekend series in the Bronx. We'll look at the two Saturday matchups as far as those two series are concerned, and we'll tell you about what's going on with special promotions. Let me start with you, John. Jim's got a big play coming up this weekend in the NBA.
Yeah, on Sunday, Jim has his NBA playoff total of the year. If you like to play totals or if you like to watch and win, you can grab this play for just $25 online at ecapramall.com. Jim Feist's Sunday NBA total of the year.
All right, we can tell you about a few things here on this. And first of all, we got the ProLineTV.com free pick phone, which we haven't mentioned in quite some time. This is a free pick every day, plus 2 on Saturday and 2 more on Sundays. And these are on tape on a toll-free number. That number is 1-888-294-1970. That's 1-888-294-1970. My own free pick phone, which you can call every day to get free plays on tape, 1-888-712-6800. That's 1-888-712-6800. And you can also get my free selections each day via text message. Just text my last name, Koken, C-O-K-I-N, to 313131. And within seconds, you'll get back the free play for the day on a text message. As for what I've got online this weekend, well, as we're doing this, I don't know yet. It's not one of those things where I want to lock myself into something that I don't necessarily like. So I'm not going to tell you a specific game yet. All I can tell you is that my under-the-hat play for Saturday will be the selection that I've got online. And that's a personal service play. And these normally cost, pretty good chunk of change if you're calling into the office. I'm going to put this game online at ProLineTV.com, and it's going to be there for a special low price. Normally, my daily plays online are $20. I'm going to price this at $10. It's going to be available to everybody online at ProLineTV.com for $10. That's my Saturday under-the-hat play. It'll be available sometime on Friday evening once I'm set on what it's going to be. So make sure and log on to ProLineTV.com, get my Saturday under-the-hat play for $10, and then do it again on Sunday, because on Sunday I'll have another under-the-hat play, and that will also be $10, both at ProLineTV.com. Okay, let's look at some baseball. Let's start off with the Reds-Cardinals matchup, and Kyle McClellan going against Johnny Cueto. Cueto, of course, was hurt to start the season, came off the DL, and he did so in really good fashion. Had a terrific game in his first appearance back for the Reds. McClellan's been an interesting story, John. He basically he's a bullpen guy. And when Adam Wainwright went down, he pushed hard to get that 5th spot in the Cardinal rotation, wanted to be a starter, and he's done a good job for this team. There's no knocking that. There are some warning signs here, however, that, there's some red flags that it may not continue. I think the innings are starting to pile up on him already. And he's been pitched out of the bullpen for a while. And let's remember, there's a reason he was a middle reliever, kind of a, 2-inning guy. It's basically because he wasn't really good enough to start. And if you look at his metrics, some of the stuff's kind of trending in the wrong direction. I think he's going to start to get hit. Been a little fortunate in his last couple of starts. So, Cueto, don't get I wouldn't get, overly excited over the one really good performance. He had some very favorable conditions in that game. But he's a solid middle-of-the-rotation guy for the Reds. I don't know that he'll ever live up to the billing that he had when he first arrived. It's like, Johnny Cueto's going to be a star. Not sure he's that kind of a pitcher. But, he's a good, solid guy, and if he can stay healthy, he gives the Reds a chance to win most of the time.
Yeah, this is a couple of powerhouse offensive teams here. McClellan's been terrific. I mean, all 7 starts that he has made, the team has won. And this is, in a way, it's Tony La Russa working his magic again. He can take guys and say, hey, look, I need 4 innings out of you, 5 or 6, and then he'll adjust the bullpen to bail out a guy. And McClellan's numbers are better than they normally would be if he was with another team. So you have to take your cap off to what he's done with his team. And, in the off season, all of the talk about the National League was the Phillies when they put together this Big Four. The team that I really am looking at as somewhat under the radar is the St. Louis Cardinal team. I like this offense is number one in so many categories offensively. They got a powerhouse offensive team, and they have very good pitching depth. And in the bullpen, I wouldn't be surprised to see this team come out in October as the best team in the National League.
It's possible. I'm not going to overlook the Reds either, though. That's what makes this an interesting matchup. I think the guy who was the real key to Cincinnati is Homer Bailey. I really think, he's a guy he's got number one stuff, but he's never been a number one pitcher. He hasn't been able to maintain that consistency. There were questions as he was coming through the organization about his coachability. I heard some things that he's, not the easiest guy to deal with as far as the coaches are concerned, that they didn't feel they were getting through to him and were getting frustrated, but he's a lot more mature now. And if you watch him pitch, the guy's got top of the rotation stuff. There's no question about that. It's just a question of putting it all together. If he can be that number one starter for the Reds, then you look at the rest of the rotation. Bronson Arroyo is a solid innings eater type. Cueto, nothing wrong with him. Volquez, he'll tease you. I mean, his command is just not reliable. But boy, I tell you what, at any given time, Edison Volquez can go out there and throw a 2-hit shutout. I mean, he's got an awesome changeup.
I know. What happened to Volquez? He had the fastball, and the problem is control. When his control is there, he's sensational, but he hasn't had that yet this season.
No, he really hasn't. I think he's been a disappointment to the Reds. Also have a pretty deep bullpen with some guys that you don't pay attention to, who are actually pretty good. Logan Andrusik, I don't think anybody even knows who he is. He's a right-hander. He comes in usually 7th or 8th inning close games. This guy's been solid for this baseball team. And you got guys like that are under the radar. They're a pretty good baseball team. This is a good race. You mentioned the Cardinals. Look, Matt Holliday, dynamite player. Lance Berkman, the big Puma, he's playing like 25. And hitting behind Pujols and Holliday has been a pretty good thing for him. The questions I have at St. Louis are, I don't know that the rotation has the ability to hold up over the long haul. And that's why I don't think they'll win the division. There's a couple of things that bother me. One, Chris Carpenter is starting to trend a little bit in the wrong direction. There are indicators that he's just not where he's been. And I don't know if he's going to be a number one anymore. I think he can still be a solid middle of the rotation guy, a 2. But I don't think he's an ace at this point. They're going to really miss Wainwright at some point. Look, you mentioned McClellan. They're 7-0 when he starts. But it's not going to continue, not in my opinion, not based on what I'm seeing in terms of those sabermetric numbers. You can take them. Some people will argue with them, but I got to tell you, they work. Okay, and they do give you a direction as to how things are going to go with a pitcher. It doesn't always work that way, but more often than not, it doesn't. And I also have questions about the Cardinal bullpen. The Vasquez kid has done a nice job, but he can be wild. I don't know if he's up to a long haul gig as the closer for this team. It wasn't going to be Ryan Franklin, who somehow got through the last couple of years. I'm not sure it's Salas. Mott is mostly a one-pitch straight fastball guy, so not really a ninth inning type. I just don't look at the Cardinals and see a team that's got staying power, and I think you're going to see them drop back as the season goes along. This game, I would look at the Reds. I think Cueto off the first start was really impressive, and McClellan's kind of on my go-against list right now. Depends on the price as to whether there's enough value in it or not. I would say if you can get plus 120, there is, but I don't know if you'll get plus 120 now. The numbers are not out for Saturday as we're making this tape. But outside that way, sounds like you are a little more on the Cardinals side of things, John.
Yeah, I do like the Cardinals, plus the coaching staff and the depth. I like what they do with this organization. Offense, we mentioned, is number one. We haven't even really mentioned the Reds offense, which is actually number 2. And they play in that small park. They got a ton of young talent on this team. They're number 4 in on-base percentage. They're 4 in slugging. So a lot to like about both of these teams. A couple of trends are actually favoring a high-scoring game here. The last 19 times that these teams have met, you're talking about 13-6 over the total. And the Cardinals, with that offense clicking currently, they're on a 10-3 run over the total.
Well, let's look at the matchup between the old rivals as they had their second series of the year ongoing right now. They already had a series at Fenway in which the Red Sox took 2 out of 3. Not a lot of good things have happened to the Red Sox this year, but that was one.
That was about the last good thing that happened.
You can't see it. The camera's up too high, but I have. This is actually a Red Sox shirt that I have on today.
Let's
a blue
see
Red Sox shirt. It says Red Sox on. I'll buy it.
Well, they didn't look too good in Toronto this week.
Well, John Lackey sure didn't. Holy cow. Yeah, look, we'll get to the specific matchup between Beckett and Big CC in just a moment. Good matchup. But talking about the Red Sox, the overview, part of what was surmised to be a real strength of this team was the pitching staff coming into the season. I had some reservations about it, and I expressed them. The reservations were as follows, and you can look and see what's happened. I do know what I'm talking about with this stuff, folks, and I'm a diehard Red Sox fan, so believe me, I want to be looking at them and saying they're going to come through and they're going to win the thing. I still think I still think they can win the division. Because I think the Yankees have holes, and it's not like the Orioles and Blue Jays and Rays don't either. Although Tampa Bay, boy, Madden's doing another great job with that team. More on them later or another time. But here are the concerns I had for the Red Sox coming in. One was Beckett. Is he going to stay healthy? That's been somewhat alleviated so far. He looks great. Lester was not a concern, but Buchholz was. From this standpoint, and again, we go back to the metric numbers, these indicators from last year. He was a little bit lucky last year to the tune of about 1 run per game. Okay? About 1 run per game. His ERA was, I believe, 2.33. The reality is, it should have been in the low to mid threes. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not, in other words, it wasn't a 1 and 1A situation with Lester and Buchholz. Buchholz is not a number one starter. He seems to be rounding into form a little bit. He was awful in his first few starts this year.
Yeah.
But Daisuke, of course, was a concern to begin with, and that hasn't changed a bit. And then there's Lackey. Now, this is something, and I hate to say, I'm not trying to sit here and say, I told you I'm the greatest thing of all time, because I make plenty of mistakes too. But I never liked the signing. I said it when it happened. I thought that they had overpaid badly for a guy who was already showing signs of decline with the Angels. He'd had shoulder issues in back-to-back years, and he was never a blow-away stuff type of guy. I mean, he's a workhorse, a bulldog. Well, when bulldogs start to fade, guess what? They start to get whacked. And that's what's happened. Lackey's strikeout numbers have diminished to the point where, he doesn't miss bats at this point. He's done like 6 per 9 innings. And that's significant.
His fastball is gone.
You start to get down to 5 or 6 range. Unless you're getting ground balls, when you're pitching a contact, you better be getting ground balls. Not a ground ball pitcher. His fly balls are up. It's a bad combination. Is he going to be better than he's been? Yeah, because he can't be any worse, okay? He's pitching right now at a level where AAA hitters could whack him around. He's awful at this point. So I think he'll improve on that. But Lackey's unreliable at this point. I don't know that they can even count on him as a number 5 starter. So there's a real problem there. The other issue, I hated the Bobby Jenks signing. This sounded like Eric Gagne all over again. Former closer who's lost a few miles off his fastball and doesn't have anything else to go to, basically. And he is eminently hittable at this point. Now he's gotten hurt. So he's on the DL. So I didn't feel as though they really addressed the bullpen situation adequately. And to me, what they're doing is hoping that Carl Crawford and Adrian Gonzalez can provide enough offense to carry them with a pitching staff that looks eerily similar to last year. That may be happening. Crawford's starting to come around, and Adrian Gonzalez is just hot. The offense looks fine at this point, but the pitching is really scattershot, and that's a problem. But in this game, John, it's not. Josh Beckett is doing great so far.
Problem. The one thing that's disturbing about this Sox offense right now is Jacoby Ellsbury and Crawford. They're been hitting the last 10 days, which is a fantastic sign because not only do they have some power and pop, but they get speed on the base pass. Gonzalez is just as good as advertised. He's been crushing the ball. But even then, this offense is still stagnant. They're leaving guys on base. If you want to be an optimist, you can look at the Red Sox and say they're still 5th in baseball in on-base percentage. And, that's the mantra of this team. Let's just clog the bases. We'll work the opposing pitcher down. We'll get guys at second and third. Maybe we'll hit into more double plays than average, and we won't drive in as many. But the purpose is you get them on base, and eventually you'll get some base hits, and you can be in the top 3 in runs scored in baseball, which they've done much of the last decade. oddly enough, they are getting guys on base, but they're not driving. The clutch hitting's been terrible. And some of the guys in the lineup who you expect to be very good, like Pedroia and Youkilis, they are getting on base, but they're not getting, their batting averages are high, so there are still problems with this lineup. In addition to those two guys, you get some real dead weight in this lineup, particularly at catcher. And I don't know what they're going to do to alleviate that. There's nobody at the minor leagues. There's nobody out there in baseball that you can pick up. So yeah, I think they will be better, but how much better is a concern. Unfortunately, the AL East isn't that great.
No, they're going to have to fix the catcher position. The interesting thing is, for years, the AL East has been looked upon as the division in baseball. It really isn't this year because we just talked Red Sox. Let's flip the page and talk about the Yankees. That pitching staff is not good. The guy who's pitching on Saturday is CC Sabathia is a stud, but beyond that, it's a gigantic question mark. I think Burnett's okay at this point. He's fixed his mechanics from last year, and it looks like Burnett's going to have a decent year for this team. Philip Hughes is hurt, though.
Yeah, he's out.
I don't know what his situation is going to be. They've gotten some really good mileage so far out of Colon and Garcia, but that's question how long that can continue. Nova is a stopgap guy who's really, he's got to keep the ball down in the strike zone and get ground balls, because if he doesn't, he just gets crushed. They're going to go out and get a pitcher, and you know what? They better do it quick because they've got issues in the rotation. Plus, Soriano now has got some kind of a tender elbow. Jabba Chamberlain is pitching very well, and you've still got Rivera, so they're still in pretty good shape in the late innings. I think Soriano will pitch through whatever this issue is. The problem is getting to the late innings. No problems with their offense. They can whack the ball. It's as good an offense as there is in the game. And so the Yankees are going to be in there because of their offense, but I don't know that they can be dominant because of their pitching, John.
I agree with that. You look at the pitching staff, the 5-man rotation, you get the ace who goes here in Sabathia. This guy has 50 wins in baseball since they signed him in 2009. That's the most of any pitcher. He's the workhorse. It's beyond that. Those other four that are a problem, Garcia and Colon, they've gotten a lot of mileage, but these guys are 34 and 37 years old. They will not last a long season because their stuff really isn't that good. Nova, I'm actually down on. He's been walking way too many guys. He went the other night against Kansas City at home as a favorite, got bombed, and then the middle relief is better than expected, but they need to improve this starting foursome. The offense is going to be great, but also remember there's a lot of age on this team in the offensive lineup. Age is more suspect to injuries. And one final thing about the Yankees, last year they were not a good road team, and this year that trend is also continuing. Yeah, they're pretty good at home, 13-8 record coming into this series, but they have struggled on the road already, and I would expect that to continue all year. So the team in the AL East that does the best is probably going to be the team that can win on the road.
And right now that's Tampa. Hey, they won the division last year.
That's right.
If their pitching holds up, and I don't see why it won't, I got to tell you something. They might win it again.
They're a good team.
Pretty good baseball team. Good organization down there. In this game, I'm not going to play this game because I'm not a favorite player in baseball. I would lean to the Yankees in this game, though. The Red Sox lineup is still not configured especially well against a really good left-hander, and CC should be able to shut them down as well as Beckett has pitched. It's still a stadium where 2 fly balls get hit, and that can be 2 runs. Because, if you can pull Beckett down the line, you can get it out of the park. He's still throwing high fastballs, and somebody will hit him at some point. I would lean to the Yankees in the game, but again, you're going to be looking somewhere in the $1.30 neighborhood. I don't think it's worth playing at that price, so I will be out of that game. So among the 2 games we talked about, if I had to pick one, I'd take the Reds with Cueto to beat the Cardinals. You really want to get a good play this weekend. On 2 of them, actually, on Saturday and Sunday. I'm pricing my under-the-hat play at $10, and I'm making it available online. You don't have to talk to anybody. All you have to do is click. Go to ProlineTV.com, get my Saturday under-the-hat play for $10. Stay on that site on Sunday and get it again for just $10. 2 big winners, Saturday and Sunday, under-the-hat plays for $10 each at ProlineTV.com. And, John, you mentioned Jim Feist with a big total going this weekend in the NBA playoffs.
Yes, he does. For a side on this game, one of the strategies I look for when you have two rivalries and two good teams going at it like we have here with Red Sox Yankees, I always take a look at the underdog just because you look historically and you see a lot of close games and you see the dog rallying and winning games. So small play on the Red Sox in this one. And for Sunday, Jim Feist has his top total of the entire NBA postseason, his NBA playoff total of the year. That's $25, and it's right online on this website and eCapitalMall.com. All
right, everybody, have a great weekend. We will come back and do it again. A whole week's worth of Proline coming up next week. A lot of baseball, a lot of basketball talk as we'll be down to the finals in both conferences at that point. So it's an exciting time. And enjoy the weekend for John Creighton, for Jim Feist, for the guys who couldn't make it today, Scott Spreitzer and Big Al McMorty. I'm Dave Koken. We thank you for watching. See you on Monday.